Dear Leo soul, if you've been feeling like something deep within you is ready to break open, let me tell you this with clarity. September 5th is not just a date on the calendar, it is a divine moment of return. A sacred wave of abundance, a long-awaited ending, and a stroke of cosmic justice are all converging on your heart right now. This video is not merely a forecast. It's a spiritual checkpoint, a mirror held up to your soul at a time when the universe is correcting the scales. And the fact that you're here? That's no accident. You didn't just click on a video. You were called, summoned, drawn here by a force wiser than the mind and deeper than reason. Maybe you can feel it already. That tension in your chest that doesn't come from stress, but from something ancient, a divine inheritance waiting to be claimed. A part of you that knows the sacrifices you've made, the roles you've played, the peace you've kept at your own expense, and the question you've asked silently for far too long: when will it be my turn? Well, Leo, this is it. The energy of September 5th is electric, precise, and sacred. Astrologically, the moon aligns in Capricorn while expansive Jupiter stations in Taurus, forming a rare trine that activates your financial axis, karmic ledger, and ancestral line. This is not wishful thinking. This is cosmic design. A final closure. A financial release. A divine balancing of what was once denied. You may have walked through years feeling unseen, silenced, carrying weight that wasn't yours. But today you're not just seen. You're remembered. By the universe. By your ancestors. By the contract your soul made before it entered this life. And if you're still wondering why you're watching this, hear this: you were chosen to receive, not just survive. Now, I want to ask you something from one spirit to another. What part of your life is quietly asking to be closed, blessed, and released? And what kind of abundance are you finally ready to let yourself receive without guilt, without performance, and without delay? Write it in the comments below. Let the act of naming it be your first sacred step toward claiming it. Declare, I am ready to receive abundance, closure, and divine justice on September 5th. And before we move deeper, let me take a moment to offer my sincerest gratitude for your presence here. Every like, every comment, every time you subscribe, you're not just supporting this channel, you're fueling a sacred space where healing, truth, and transformation live. Thank you from the depths of my heart. You are the reason these messages find the people who need them most. But let me be honest with you, what's coming next is not casual. It's not surface level. It's not fluff. What follows will challenge you, awaken you, and liberate you. The revelations in this video carry the power to reroute the direction of your energy, your finances, and your future. So stay with me until the end, Leo. Your journey is not over, it's being rewritten. Right here. Right now. Let's begin. Leo, there's something remarkable about this moment you're standing in. And it's not just about the movement of the stars or the shifting of energy in the sky, it's about what's being unsealed within you. The astrological alignment of September 5th is not just planetary choreography, it is the universe calling you forward to a threshold that your soul has waited lifetimes to reach. What's happening now isn't subtle. It's a destined release, a spiritual unlocking, and Leo, you are the one holding the key. As the moon moves through Capricorn and forms a rare trine with Jupiter and Taurus, a sacred axis is activated, the one that rules ancestral inheritance, material wealth, and karmic completion. This is the axis where stories are passed down, not through words, but through patterns. Patterns of sacrifice, silence, striving. But you, Leo, are not here to repeat them. You're here to rewrite them. That is what makes you the chosen one in this chapter, the one soul in the bloodline brave enough to say, "It ends with me." But here's the truth that many avoid. You cannot step into your abundance if you're still clinging to a version of yourself that was shaped only by survival. You can't welcome wealth with arms that are still holding resentment, guilt, or roles that no longer reflect who you truly are. That's the deeper meaning behind this cosmic invitation. This isn't just about money flowing in, it's about the clearing of space for that money to have a place to land. So ask yourself honestly, what identity are you still performing that no longer fits? Are you still trying to earn love through service, acceptance through silence, validation through perfection? That's not abundance. That's bondage. And today, the cosmos is handing you the scissors to cut those ties. This release is sacred. Not loud, not dramatic, not performative. It's quiet, internal, like the soft snap of a branch that's outgrown its shape. It may look like walking away from a role you've always played. It may feel like grief. It may confuse others who've benefited from your self-sacrifice. But let that be. The shedding of false responsibility is not selfishness. It's spiritual maturity. What we're talking about here is freedom. Not just financial freedom, but energetic, emotional, and generational freedom. When you say no to the role that kept you small, you open the door to everything that was always meant for you. You're not just breaking a pattern for yourself. You're doing it for every ancestor who came before you and every soul who will follow. In self-help, we often speak of breaking the cycle. But here, in the language of astrology and soul healing, it's more than that. It's completing the soul contract that says, "I will not carry what was never mine to hold." And it is no coincidence that you are being asked to do this now. September is the month of harvest, a time when the seeds that were buried in darkness finally begin to bear fruit. But to receive that harvest, your hands must be open. The ground must be clear. So if your spirit has been aching lately, if you felt the pull to rest, reflect, release, honor that. It's not laziness. It's preparation. A sacred tilling of the soil before abundance comes rushing in. This is what divine timing feels like. Not rushed. Not convenient. But perfect. And you, Leo, are not late. You're right on time. So breathe and trust the process. Because even if your mind can't yet grasp it, your soul already said yes. Now let's go deeper. There is more waiting for you just beyond this moment. Leo, if you've been working harder than ever but still feel like abundance keeps slipping through your fingers, there's a deeper layer at play. This isn't about effort. It's not about time or timing. It's about alignment, and more specifically, authentic alignment. The universe is precise, but it's not transactional. It doesn't pay us in proportion to how exhausted we are. It reflects back the energy we are truly embodying. And if you're still performing a role that doesn't belong to you, if you're holding up a mask just to preserve harmony, just to appear strong, just to avoid disappointing others, then what's showing up in your external life is based on that version of you, not your real self. There is a version of you, Leo, that has been taught to equate worth with effort. To believe that only when you've bled emotionally, only when you've sacrificed your voice, your comfort, your truth, then you are finally allowed to receive. But let's be honest, isn't that belief quietly punishing? Isn't it a form of self-rejection wrapped in the disguise of strength? This moment in your journey is not just about welcoming money, it's about dissolving the inner programming that says you need to struggle to deserve it. Because abundance doesn't just come to those who grind. It comes to those who are in integrity with their healed selves. That's why the cards appearing for you today, the Ace of Pentacles, the Six of Pentacles, and Justice, are not rewards. They're reflections. They mirror the version of you that is no longer asking permission to exist, to speak, to shine, or to receive. The Ace of Pentacles is more than just a symbol of financial opportunity. It's a seed, but it can only grow in the soil of self-acceptance. The Six of Pentacles doesn't just suggest repayment or generosity. It shows up when you stop seeing yourself as someone who must earn love or support through sacrifice. And the Justice card is the final note, not punishment, not retribution, but balance. A sacred rebalancing that only arrives when you stop abandoning yourself. We live in a world that often applauds us for playing roles that are disconnected from who we really are. You've likely been praised for being the strong one, the giver, the unshakable presence. But what no one talks about is the emotional fatigue of always holding it together. And yet, here you are. Still standing. Still showing up. Which means, Leo, you're already strong. You don't have to prove it anymore. And that's why the flow of money, love, and opportunities may have felt blocked, not because you aren't capable, but because you've been showing up as someone you think others need you to be, not as who you are. The universe can't support a performance. It supports the truth. So let this be the moment you begin to shift. Not with force, not with pressure, but with clarity. With gentleness. Start by affirming a new truth into your field. I am worthy of wealth born from healing, not suffering. Say it out loud in front of a mirror, in your car, in your journal. Let your nervous system start believing what your soul already knows. Then take a small, sacred step. Write it down. Tape it to your mirror. Keep it in your wallet. Not because the words themselves are magic, but because they anchor you back to your truth every time you forget. Every time the world tells you to go back to the role. Every time someone asks you to dim your light. This is not about pretending to be healed. It's about claiming that you no longer have to hurt to be worthy. You were never meant to perform your way into abundance. You were always meant to receive it because of who you are. There comes a moment in every Leo's journey when the weight of who you've been begins to outweigh the call of who you're becoming. It doesn't always arrive with drama or thunder. Sometimes, it creeps in as a quiet ache, a subtle knowing that a certain version of yourself, one that was once necessary, has reached its natural end. This isn't about loss. It's about completion. The roles you've played, the peacemaker, the caretaker, the one who always had to be strong for everyone else, were never mistakes. They were part of your survival. But survival is not the same as thriving. And you, dear Leo, were not born to merely survive. You were born to radiate. In astrology, Leo is ruled by the sun, a force that doesn't beg to shine, it simply does. But even the sun sets. And when it does, something new is allowed to rise in its place. That's what this phase is inviting you into, a sunset of the self you no longer need, and a sunrise of the one you've long kept waiting in the wings. Letting go of an old identity isn't betrayal. It's an act of deep respect for your growth, for your soul, and for the truth you're finally ready to live. The process may stir up emotions, grief, confusion, even guilt, especially if you've been praised for the very roles you now feel called to release. You may fear being seen differently. You may worry that without that old armor, you'll lose your worth. But true abundance, especially the kind that lasts, cannot arrive while you're still cloaked in what no longer aligns. Real wealth doesn't just ask for strategy. It asks for space. And space is only made when you release the past with intention. The symbolic act of writing down the identity you're letting go of, paired with the ritual of burning it, may seem simple, but in the world of energy, it is profound. Fire, both astrologically and alchemically, is the element of transformation. It does not destroy for the sake of chaos. It purifies. It clears. It returns things to essence. When you release that paper into flame, you're not just discarding words. You're sending a message to the universe. I am no longer in contract with a self that was born of obligation. The suggested colors are not random. Deep indigo, the color of endings, mystery, and inward transformation, supports the energetic shedding of layers. Earthy orange, the hue of grounding, creativity, and new manifestations, helps usher in the vitality required for rebirth. These are visual affirmations your nervous system responds to even when your mind is still catching up. When you comment something like, "I choose to release my old self to welcome my new wealth cycle," you are not just participating in a YouTube video. You are anchoring the energy into your physical realm. You're speaking life into a new chapter. Words create worlds. And when spoken from a healed, honest heart, they realign everything. Let this be the moment when you choose to stop rehearsing an identity that no longer mirrors your truth. Let this be the ceremony, quiet or loud, where you bow to the past not with resentment, but with reverence. Because everything you learned while wearing that old role, every tear and triumph, will now become fuel for what's ahead. And what's ahead, Leo, is not just a new chapter. It's a new authorship. You're no longer a character in someone else's story. You are the pen. You are the ink. You are the fire. And you are ready. When we speak of justice in the context of astrology and soul evolution, we're not just referring to fairness in the way the world often defines it: transactional, conditional, or delayed. We're talking about energetic justice, the kind that arrives not because you fought for it with clenched fists, but because you aligned with it through truth. For many Leos, there is a deep and often unspoken history of staying silent in order to keep the peace. A noble instinct, perhaps, born out of the desire to protect harmony, to shield others from conflict, or to maintain the image of strength. But there is a cost to that silence, and the bill always comes not in the form of punishment, but in the slow erosion of self. In this moment, the universe isn't asking you to fight. It's asking you to stand. Not for war, but for clarity. The energy moving through your chart and through the collective field on this particular day is not chaotic. It is exact. The presence of the Justice card in your energetic spread is no accident. Justice doesn't respond to emotional outbursts or forceful demands. It responds to readiness. Readiness to stop hiding. Readiness to speak truth, even if your voice shakes. Readiness to embody your boundaries instead of apologizing for them. What was once taken from you, be it recognition, energy, finances, or simply the space to be your full self, is not lost. It is suspended, waiting, hovering just outside the field of your current embodiment. But in order for it to return, something must shift in you. And that shift begins with awareness. The kind of awareness that doesn't beg for validation or over-explain its choices. The kind that simply says, I see what's true, and I will no longer pretend it isn't. The judgment card appearing alongside justice is a spiritual awakening, not the loud kind that crashes through your life in dramatic ways, but the kind that seeps into your breath, your choices, your posture. It's the soft yet firm declaration that you will no longer participate in dynamics that require you to betray yourself. And when judgment is followed by the world, the message is clear: the cycle has completed. The loop has run its course. You do not owe your continued presence to any situation that demands your silence in exchange for acceptance. There is tremendous power in reclaiming your voice, not to shout, but to clarify. To say no without explanation. To walk away from energy that doesn't nourish you, not out of anger, but out of alignment. This is what soul-level justice feels like. Not explosive, but freeing. Not reactive, but stabilizing. And when you choose this path, you step into a new vibration where what is truly yours can finally return, not because you demanded it, but because you became the version of yourself who could hold it with integrity. The affirmation for this phase is not a battle cry, but a quiet truth: I do not need to demand. I need only to embody truth, and what is meant for me will find me. This is the law of resonance in motion. Not just a spiritual concept, but a biological reality. Your nervous system regulates differently when you're in alignment. Your energy field expands. And life begins to respond not to your wishes, but to your willingness to live authentically. So if you've been waiting for the scales to tip in your favor, ask yourself, have I made space for what I claim to want? Have I cleared out the clutter of roles, personas, or agreements that no longer reflect my truth? If the answer is yes, then stay present. Stay grounded. Because justice, real justice, is not delayed. It's divinely timed, and it always arrives when you're truly ready to receive it. There are moments in life that don't announce themselves with noise, but with stillness, a quiet shift in the wind, a subtle memory that rises from nowhere, a feeling of being gently watched over. And if you're honest, Leo, maybe you've felt it lately. Maybe you've caught a familiar scent that shouldn't have been there. Maybe you've had a dream that repeated, not randomly, but rhythmically. These aren't coincidences. They are invitations. The universe is whispering, and your lineage, those who came before you, are drawing closer now, not with demands, but with gifts. This moment is not only about your personal journey. It's about an intergenerational current finally finding its opening through you. You are not just the result of your ancestors' choices. You are the continuation of their hopes, their sacrifices, and their unfinished prayers. The energy moving through your chart right now, especially with the High Priestess, the Moon, and the Six of Cups, tells the story of feminine memory, intuitive guidance, and soul inheritance, the kind that doesn't come in the form of words, but through emotion, sensation, and deep knowing. It's not about looking back with heaviness. It's about receiving what was paused in time, something you were always meant to have, but which couldn't reach you until now. When we talk about ancestral energy in the language of astrology, it's often through the fourth house, the moon, and the water signs elements that rule memory, safety, emotional inheritance. You may be the first in your line to feel this fully, to name what was unspoken, to break what was cyclic. But with that weight comes a quiet miracle: you become the bridge. And the bridge isn't built from perfection, it's built from presence, from your willingness to feel what others avoided, to say what others suppressed, to open a door that others left locked. You don't have to carry the pain, Leo. You only have to receive the gift. In this space, rituals matter. Not for their superstition, but for their symbolism. Writing a letter to your grandmother, to the one who held power but never got to use it, to the one who loved but never felt safe enough to fully express it. This is more than just words on paper. It's a declaration: I see you now. I remember. And I am ready to take what you could not finish and let it bloom in me. Placing that letter under your pillow is a quiet agreement between you and the unseen. Burning it, finally, is not destruction. It is transmission, a way to release the message into the elemental world where energy travels freely and returns faithfully. The gift may not always arrive wrapped in logic. It could be a sudden call, a job opening, a check in the mail, or a moment of peace you've never known before. It might be a surge of courage, the kind that lets you say yes to something you've always feared. Or it might be a softening in your heart, the kind that no longer needs to prove itself in order to feel worthy of love. These are not coincidences. These are returns, delayed blessings now finding their way home. So if you're feeling this, if some part of you is tingling with recognition, don't dismiss it. Don't rationalize it away. Just breathe and lean in. Say out loud, I am ready to receive the gift from my ancestors. And write it in the comments, because when you name what you're ready to receive, you invite it to arrive. This isn't about worshiping the past. It's about reclaiming the power that was always part of your future. And Leo, it's coming home through you. Leo, if you've made it this far, then something within you has already awakened. This moment, this turning point, isn't just an idea or an emotional high. It's a real, grounded invitation from the universe to return to what was always meant for you. It's not a promise made lightly, and certainly not a prediction crafted to soothe. It is a truth ready to unfold if you're ready to receive it. The energies of September 5th are not random. They are aligned precisely to meet you at the intersection of readiness and remembrance. Money flows when your energy is no longer entangled in proving your worth. Endings arrive gracefully when you no longer resist them. And divine justice appears not because you demand it, but because you've stopped pretending you don't deserve it. All of this is already on its way to you. The only question that remains is, will you open the door? You don't have to strain anymore. You don't have to bend yourself to be loved, or to wear masks that keep your light dimmed. That time is over. Now is the moment to soften into truth, not with fear, but with trust. Trust that your honesty is enough. That your healing is enough. That your presence is enough. So let me ask you gently but clearly, what will you choose to do with this insight? Which ritual spoke to your heart? Will you write the letter? Burn the old role? Speak the new truth out loud? Because even one sacred step signals to the universe that you're not only hearing, you're responding. And remember, you're not walking this alone. This space, eternal mindfulness, was created for seekers like you. For the souls brave enough to evolve, and humble enough to begin again. Every like, every comment, Every time you choose to return to this circle, you amplify the signal of healing not just for yourself, but for the collective. And for that, I thank you deeply. If you felt the resonance of this message, if your chest stirred with recognition or your intuition whispered, yes, then don't keep it to yourself. Let the energy move by anchoring it in action. Comment below, I am ready to receive abundance, close old cycles, and welcome divine justice on September 5th. Say it aloud if you need to. Whisper it as a prayer. Write it into your journal. Because the moment you speak it, the work begins not outside you, but within. And if this video has touched something sacred in you, I invite you to like it as a way of affirming that connection. Subscribe to Eternal Mindfulness if you haven't already, so you won't miss the energies ahead. And share this message with another Leo who might need to hear it. You never know, your courage might just be the spark that lights someone else's path. Let this be more than information. Let it be transformation. You're not becoming someone new. You're remembering who you've always been. And trust me, Leo, you're exactly on time.